The gravel crunched under her truck tires like bones snapping in the quiet. Dust rose in a slow cloud, catching the late afternoon sun, and settled on the fence posts I'd just painted. I'd built my days here on the ranch around that silence, after Mom and Dad were gone. Steady work, empty fields, no one to pull me from the rhythm. But then she was there, at the gate. Ruth. The neighbor who'd been more than that once. Her door creaked open, and she stepped out, hat shadowing her face. Those eyes met mine, holding something heavy. A secret. And in them, a pull I'd buried deep. What had driven her back after all these years? My hands tightened on the post hole digger. The routine I'd clung to cracked open. I wiped sweat from my forehead with the back of my arm, the salt stinging my eyes. The ranch stretched out behind me, acres of dry grass waving in the wind, the kind that whispered promises of rain it never kept. It was mine now, or what was left of it. Dad's heart gave out 2 winters back, pulling Mom with him that spring, when the isolation turned her quiet into something final. I had sold off the herd to pay the taxes, kept just enough land to walk without seeing neighbors. Morning started with coffee black as the soil, then chores that filled the hours, fixing irrigation lines that leaked like old wounds, checking the barn for rot. It was work that demanded my hands, left no room for the ache in my chest. Ruth had been part of that world before it all broke. She lived on the next spread over, a widow by 30, running her place alone after her husband rolled his truck into a gulch. Folks in town called her Steady, the one who showed up when calving season hit hard or a fence went down in a storm. But for me, she was more. Mom worked double shifts at the diner, Dad always out mending equipment. Ruth stepped in without asking. Taught me to saddle a horse before I could reach the stirrups without a boost. Her hands, rough from rope and reins, guided mine over the leather. "Feel the give," she'd say, voice low like the river after rain. That's trust. We'd ride the ridges at dawn, her explaining the land's moods, the way wind carved canyons, how drought tested roots. Resilience, she called it. Not just surviving, but bending without breaking. Those lessons stuck, even when she left. 10 years ago, she packed up after a bad season. Said the city had work that paid steady. Town talked. Debts, maybe a fight with the bank. I was 18 then, finishing school, helping Dad more. Her truck vanished one night, lights fading down the county road. I watched from the porch, feeling the empty space like a missing fence post. After that, the ranch felt smaller. I finished high school, came back when Dad got sick. Buried them both under the old oak. Kept going. Dusk fell fast that evening, the sky bruising purple over the hills. I was hauling feed sacks to the barn when the engine rumble cut through. Low, familiar, like thunder rolling distant. I dropped the sack, grain spilling white on the dirt. There it was, her old Ford, paint chipped, pulling up to the gate. She cut the engine, stepped out, slow. Hat low, jeans faded, boots scuffed for miles I couldn't imagine. The air smelled of exhaust and dust, stirring something in my gut. Ruth. My voice came out rough, unused to names after so long alone. She pushed back her hat, eyes finding mine across the yard. Lines edged deeper around them, but that steady gaze held. Clara. Been a while. I walked over, gravel biting my soles. The gate creaked as I unlatched it, letting her truck ease through. She parked by the house, killed the engine again. Silence dropped heavy. I stood there, hands in my pockets, feeling the weight of years between us. She climbed out, taller than memory, shoulders square under a flannel shirt. Dust clung to her like an old friend. Place looks solid. You been keeping it up? Have to. I nodded toward the barn. What brings you back? Her mouth tightened, just a flicker. Needed to see it. See you. We stood there, the space between us thick with dust motes dancing in the fading light. Her hand reached for the gatepost, brushed mine as she steadied herself. Rough skin, calluses I remembered. The touch lingered, longer than it should. Warmth spread up my arm, unwelcome. I pulled back first, clearing my throat. "Come in, sun's dropping." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Reluctance tugged, but so did the pull of her presence, like a horse testing the reins. She followed me to the porch, boots thudding soft. Inside, the kitchen smelled of stale coffee and the earth I'd tracked in. I poured water from the jug, handed her a glass. Her fingers grazed mine again, deliberate or not. We sat at the table, wood scarred from years of meals. The clock ticked loud in the quiet. "Town hasn't changed much," she said, sipping slow. "Heard about your folks. I'm sorry." I nodded, staring at the grain in the table. "Keeps me busy." Her eyes searched my face, holding that weight. As night pressed against the windows, conversation turned. "I didn't come back for nothing, Clara. There's reasons." The air shifted, heavy with what wasn't said. Outside, wind picked up, rattling the shutters. I busied myself at the stove, pulling out a pot from the cabinet. The iron clanged against the edge, louder than it should in the hush. Ruth watched from the table, her fingers tracing the wood grain like she was reading old tracks. I dumped in beans from a jar, added water, and set it to simmer. The kitchen filled with the earthy scent of stew bubbling up, mixing with the faint wood smoke from the stovepipe. Lamplight flickered across the walls, casting her shadow long and steady. "Sit," I said, not looking back. "It'll take a bit." She didn't move right away. Her chair scraped as she rose, coming to lean against the counter. Close enough, I felt the warmth off her. "You always did make this place feel like home." I stirred harder than needed, the spoon scraping the pot bottom. Home. The word hung, pulling at threads I'd tied off years ago. We ate in near silence after that, bowls steaming on the table. The stew was simple, thick with chunks of carrot and onion I'd chopped that morning. She ate slow, deliberate, like savoring each bite grounded her. I picked at mine, appetite gone under her gaze. "Town's the same," she said finally, setting her spoon down. "Folks still gossiping over coffee at the diner. But things shifted after you lost your parents. Bank got tighter on loans. Drought hit everyone." I nodded, keeping my eyes on the bowl. Vague, like smoke curling from the lamp. She avoided the direct, circling what brought her here. "Heard the miller sold out, went to California for work." Her words trailed, waiting for me to fill the gap. I didn't. The air between us thickened, heavy as the steam rising. Outside, wind pushed harder against the panes, a low whine starting up. "Why now, Ruth?" I asked, voice low. Probed without meaning to, the question slipping out like a loose rein. She leaned back, chair creaking. Lines around her eyes caught the light, deeper than before, etched from city nights or something heavier. Her gaze held steady but carried new weight, like stones in a saddlebag. City work dried up, construction slowed, but it wasn't just that. Fragments. I waited. Fork paused midair. She rubbed her thumb over a callus on her palm, the one from years of roping calves. Something pulled me home. Old ties. Things left undone. My chest tightened. Buried admiration stirred, uncomfortable as a boot too tight after rain. She'd been the steady one, the hand guiding mine through loss and lessons. Now, sitting there, her presence pulled at that old ache. I remembered watching her from the barn loft as a girl, the way she moved with the land, sure, unyielding. Desire flickered, hidden under resentment for leaving. For the quiet she'd shattered. "You left quick," I said, sharper than intended. "Didn't say goodbye." Her eyes met mine, unflinching. Had to, for reasons that seemed right then. The lamp wick popped, flame dancing. Stew cooled in my bowl, untouched. I pushed it away, the scrape echoing. "Reasons like what? Town troubles you hint at?" She sighed, breath stirring the air. "Debts piled after the bad year. But more. Family matters. Your aunt..." She stopped, gaze dropping to her hands. The weight in her eyes deepened, pulling me in despite myself. I leaned forward, the table edge digging into my palms. Aunt Lena? She passed last spring. What about her? Ruth's jaw set. She wrote me before. Asked for help covering something. I did what I could from afar. City paid enough to send money quiet-like. Probing revealed pieces, jagged as broken fence wire. Left for work, yes, but pulled back by guilt or unfinished business. My mind raced. Lena's sudden quiet in her last years, the way she'd avoid my questions about the ranch finances. Ruth's return tied to that? The undercurrent swelled, admiration twisting with unease. Her hands, still strong, folded on the table. I wanted to reach across, feel that old steadiness, but held back. The pull grew, stirring dust in places I'd let settle. Thunder rumbled distant, wind lashing the shutters. The storm brewed outside, dark clouds swallowing the stars. Inside, tension mirrored it, rising, unavoidable. Rain pattered first, then sheeted down, drumming the roof like urgent questions unanswered. Rain hammered the roof like fists, demanding entry. The storm hit full force, wind howling through the eaves, bending the old oaks outside. Thunder cracked, rattling the windows in their frames, sharp reminders of regrets I'd buried under daily grind. Ruth's truck sat soaked in the yard, too far to risk the drive back to town. Or wherever she'd been staying. "Can't go out in this," she said, voice cutting through the din. She stood by the door, peering into the black. Lightning flashed, etching her silhouette against the glass. I nodded, arms crossed tight. "Stay, couch is clear." She turned, eyes meeting mine in the lamplight. No argument. We cleared the table in silence, bowls clinking. I banked the stove embers, then led her to the living room. The fire in the hearth was low, just coals glowing red. I added logs from the woodbox, flames licking up slow. Wood smoke curled, filling the space with that sharp, comforting bite. Ruth settled on the rug, back to the warmth. I dragged over a chair, but she patted the floor beside her. "Easier here. Heat rises." I hesitated, then sank down. The chill seeped from the floorboards, but the fire pushed it back. Thunder rolled again, closer, shaking the house like it wanted in. She stared into the flames, voice low and deliberate. "Remember that norther 10 years back? Froze the pipes solid. Your dad and I spent half the night thawing them with torches." I did. Vague shapes in memory. Ruth's laugh cutting the cold, her gloved hand steady on the wrench. "You fixed the pump. Dad said you saved the season." She nodded, poking the fire with a stick. Sparks flew up the chimney. "Ranch life. Always one thing after another. Taught me to listen to the land. Wind tells you trouble's coming if you pay attention." Her stories unfolded like that, measured. Tales of branding days, when she'd rope steers with a flick of her wrist. Or the time a coyote pack took half the flock, and she tracked them alone at dawn. Voice steady, pulling me back to those years, when she was the constant, filling gaps Mom and Dad couldn't. Her words painted the ranch as it was. Harsh, but alive with small victories. Thunder boomed, windows shuddering. She shifted closer, our shoulders nearly touching. "Your family, they held this place together quiet-like. Sacrifices no one saw." I turned, firelight dancing in her eyes. "What do you mean?" She breathed deep, smoke stinging the air. "After your Aunt Lena's trouble, the one with the bank. Folks don't know, but she borrowed heavy to cover medical bills for your grandma. Your parents co-signed. Dragged them under slow. I knew. Helped where I could, wiring money from the city. But it wasn't enough. They never complained. Just kept working." Revelations landed heavy, like stones in still water. Lena's bad investments, Dad's endless overtime. Sacrifices in silence, propping the ranch while it crumbled. Ruth's gaze held mine, unflinching. I left partly for that. Thought distance would ease the pull. But guilt followed. The chill deepened, draft, sneaking under the door. I fetched blankets from the hall closet, wool, rough from years. Handed her one, our fingers brushing. Cold skin met mine, sending a jolt. She wrapped it around her shoulders, but the edge draped over my lap too. Shared warmth cut the chill, her nearness a steady heat. Proximity pressed, breaths sinking with the fire's crackle. I swallowed, confession rising unbidden. Life stalled after they died. Buried them, sold the stock. Just me and the land now. Your shadow lingers, though. Lessons stuck. But the quiet, it's heavy. She looked at me, hand shifting under the blanket. Touched my arm, light. You were always strong, Clara. Bending, not breaking. Like I taught. Thunder faded, rain easing to a patter. Her touch lingered, warmth spreading. Desire flickered, old and new. But questions deepened. What tied her back, really? Morning light crept in cracks, bringing clarity. Yet the weight in her eyes pulled harder, unanswered. Sun cut through the clouds low, turning the wet grass silver. I rose early, the blanket twisted around me from fitful sleep. Ruth's truck gleamed in the yard, puddles reflecting the sky. Coffee brewed strong on the stove, its bitter steam pulling me back to routine. She came down from the loft, hair tousled, eyes clear but shadowed. We ate toast in silence, crumbs falling like unanswered words. The air outside hummed fresh, earth scent rising from the rain-soaked fields. Walk with me, she said, pushing back her chair. Need to stretch these legs. I nodded, grabbing my hat. We stepped out, boots sinking soft into the mud. Pastures rolled wide, fences sagging under dew-heavy posts. She led, stride sure, cutting across the lower field toward the creek that bordered our land. Willows hung low, branches trailing water still swollen from the storm. Birds called sharp, breaking the quiet. My mind churned, her hints last night, the sacrifices she'd named. Lena's name hung between us, unspoken. We reached the hidden spot, a bend where the creek pooled deep under overhanging rocks. She stopped, hands in pockets, staring at the ripple. Used to bring you here as a kid. Skipstones? Remember? I did. Her arm around my shoulders then, teaching patience. Yeah. Taught me to aim true. She turned, face etched with lines the firelight had softened. Wind stirred the leaves, a low rustle like secrets stirring. I left to protect you, Clara, from what happened with your family. My breath caught. Protect me? The words landed heavy, stirring dust in old corners. What do you mean? She sat on a flat rock, gesturing me down. The stone was cool under my palms, creek murmuring steady. Scandal. The kind that tears ranches apart. Your Aunt Lena, we were close, more than neighbors. Fragments clicked. Slow at first. Lena's late nights, the way she'd light up talking about Ruth before she left. Close how? Ruth's gaze dropped to the water, voice rough as gravel. Lovers. It started quiet after her husband passed. She helped me through my grief, then things shifted. We kept it hidden. Town wouldn't understand. But it grew. Letters, visits when no one watched. Affair. The word hit like a fence post driven deep. Lena, with her sharp laugh and hidden smiles. Covered up to preserve the home. To keep the ranch from whispers that could choke it. You and Aunt Lena. All those years. She nodded, thumb tracing a crack in the rock. We planned to tell, once things settled. But the bank caught wind. Rumors from a nosy hand. They tightened loans, said instability. Your parents stepped in, co-signed to save the place. I saw it breaking them. Felt my fault. Details emerged, jagged as creekstones. Stolen moments in the barn, notes tucked in saddlebags. The cover-up. Ruth taking the blame for debts, vanishing to the city so Lena could stay, hold the family together. I wired money, but it wasn't enough. Leaving was the only way to cut the ties. Protect the ranch. Protect you from knowing, from the pain. Guilt weighted her words, pulling her shoulders down. She clutched the rock edge, knuckles white. I abandoned the role I filled. Stepped in for your mom, taught you the land. Then ran when it got real. Left you to carry it alone. Shock rippled through me. Pieces of childhood loneliness clicking into place. The empty afternoons after school, waiting for Ruth's truck that never came. Lena's distant eyes at family dinners, hiding her own ache. My parents' strain, smiles forced over bills. It all fit. The quiet fractures I'd patched with work. You left because of her? Because of us? Her eyes met mine, raw. For you, to keep this place standing. But it cost us all. Anger flared, hot as sun on wet earth. I stood, pacing the bank, water splashing my boots. You decided for me? Hid it all, let me think you just quit? Loyalty to family, that's what I held on to. Your lessons on bending, not breaking. But you broke us, without a word. She rose too, voice steady but edged. What choice? Tell a town that eats its own? Your parents begged me to go quiet. Lena, too. I carried the secret like a stone in my boot. Stone? I snapped, turning sharp. It was my family crumbling. Loneliness that stuck. And now you waltz back, stirring it up? Thunder of my pulse drowned the creak. Her face hardened, but eyes pleaded. Argument hung thick, testing loyalty against truths buried deep. Wind picked up, bending the willows like warnings. The ranch waited beyond, pulling us back. But the secret cracked open, spilling into the light. We walked back from the creek in silence, the argument's heat cooling into something colder. Mud sucked at our boots, each step pulling harder than the last. Ruth's truck waited in the yard, a reminder she could leave again. But she didn't. She grabbed her tools from the bed, hammer, wire cutters, gloves worn thin, and headed for the south fence without a word. I followed, resentment churning like creek water after rain. Days blurred after that. Strained work filled the hours, chores we'd once shared easy, now heavy with unspoken barbs. Mornings started with coffee poured in parallel, mugs clinking on the counter like judgments. We'd split the tasks, me checking irrigation, her on the fences. Silence hung thick between us, broken only by the clang of metal or the low of distant cattle. I caught myself watching her from the barn door, hammer swinging steady against a post. Her back to me, muscles shifting under flannel. Resentment masked it, but desire flickered underneath, sharp as a thorn in my palm. She persisted, though. Helped mend the fences sagging from winter winds, hands calloused and sure as ever. Wire twisted under her grip, staples driven clean. This stretch always gave trouble, she'd mutter, not looking up. I nodded, passing pliers, our fingers brushing brief. The touch lingered in my skin long after, warming against the chill mornings. She fixed the gate latch that stuck, oiled the hinges till it swung smooth. Work that should have been mine alone, but her presence eased the load, even as it twisted the knot in my chest. Inside, my thoughts grappled. Desire masked as resentment, pulling me two ways. Nights, I'd lie in bed, ceiling beams staring back. Why stay? Guilt over Lena? Over leaving me to the ranch's slow drain? Or something deeper? Eyes holding that weight since her arrival. I resented the disruption. Routine shattered, old wounds ripped open. But under it, longing stirred. For her guidance, yes, but more. The way her laugh used to cut the quiet, low and real. Now, it was gone, replaced by this careful distance. My body betrayed me, pulse quickening when she passed close in the kitchen, scent of earth and sweat trailing. I pushed it down, told myself it was loyalty to family, to the secrets she'd hidden. But alone in the fields, hoe-biting soil, I'd wonder, what if I'd known sooner? Would I have followed her to the city, left the ranch to rot? Subtle touches built the tension. Brushing dirt from her shoulder after a gust kicked up dust, my hand lingering on the curve of her collarbone. Fabric warm under my palm, her breath catching just enough to notice. Or eyes meeting too long over lunch, simple sandwiches on the porch, bread and cheese. Hers would hold mine, unflinching, searching. I'd look away first, heat rising in my face like sun on dry ground. Once, reaching for the same water jug, our arms pressed, skin rough against smooth. She didn't pull back quick, and neither did I. The air thickened, charged as before a storm. Flashbacks hit during quiet moments. Youth's hard times, her quiet guidance pulling me through. Dad's long illness, me 16 and scared, watching him fade in the dim room. Ruth came daily, sat with me on the porch steps. Fear's like a bad colt, she'd say, voice steady as the hills. You don't fight it head on. You circle, gentle, till it trusts. Her hand on my knee then, reassuring. Nights when Mom cried in the kitchen, Ruth cooked supper. Plates passed simple. Taught me to shoulder the weight without buckling. Those memories flooded now, mixing gratitude with ache. She'd shaped me, then vanished. Resentment flared, why return to stir it? But desire won in flashes, imagining her hand on my knee now, not as mentor, but more. One evening, as sun dipped low, painting the ridges gold, she nodded toward the barn. Saddle up, ride with me. Clear our heads. I hesitated, walls high. But the pull won. We mounted, horses stepping easy into the dusk. Hooves thudded soft on the trail, wind cooling the sweat from chores. Silence eased a fraction, her profile sharp against the sky. The ride revealed more, glimpses of her city weariness, the way her shoulders relaxed here. Despite the walls, we drew closer, reins loose, land stretching wide between us. We unsaddled the horses in the barn, the air thick with hay dust and the musk of sweat-cooled hides. Lantern hung from a beam, its flame steady, casting long shadows that stretched like unspoken words across the stalls. Ruth brushed down her mare with slow strokes, curry comb rasping soft against the coat. I did the same for mine, movements mechanical, mine still on the ride. The way she'd leaned in the saddle, wind tugging her hat brim, revealing glimpses of fatigue etched deep. City had worn her edges, but here, in the dim light, she settled. My chest tightened, walls cracking under the quiet. She set the comb aside, leaning against the stall door. Shadows played over her face, softening the lines. Clara, we need to talk. No more circling. I nodded, hanging the bridle on its peg. The metal clinked, echoing in the hush. I faced her, lantern glow warming her flannel, turning it gold. About Lena? The secret? Her eyes held mine, unflinching. More than that. Always was. She pushed off the door, closing the space between us. Hay crunched under her boot. You weren't just the kid next door. Not to me. From the start, when I taught you the ropes, it was different. Deeper. My breath caught, pulse thudding like a hammer on anvil. Deeper. The word hung, pulling at threads I'd ignored. What do you mean? She swallowed, thumb rubbing her jaw. Saw you as more than a charge. The way you watched the land, fierce and quiet. It stirred something. Admiration, yes. But longing, too. Hidden it, though. You were young, building your life. Complicating that with my feelings, it would have tangled everything. Your family, the ranch. I buried it when I left. Reciprocated feelings. The admission landed soft but heavy, like dew on grass. She'd felt it too. The pull I'd dismissed as gratitude. The warmth in her lessons that lingered in dreams. Years of watching her hands on reins, voice guiding through storms. Unspoken longing surfaced now, raw as an open wound. I thought it was just me, the way your touch stayed, even after. Resented you leaving, but missed it more. That steadiness. You. Her gaze softened, shadows deepening in her eyes. Feared ruining you. Like with Lena. Love in this place, it's a risk. Town eyes, family ties. But coming back, seeing you hold this land alone, couldn't stay away. Tension built, air thickening like before rain. I stepped closer, the lantern's heat mirroring the flesh rising in me. Her scent, earth, horse, faint soap, filled the space. My hand rose, hesitant, brushing her arm. Fabric rough under my palm, muscle taut beneath. She didn't pull back. Instead, her fingers caught mine, calluses rough against my skin. Hands clasped, warm and sure, thumbs tracing slow circles. Breath synced, shallow in the dimness, the barn narrowing to us. Her free hand lifted, cupping my cheek, thumb grazing my lip. The touch sent sparks, old desires igniting like dry tinder. Ruth. My voice cracked, barely a whisper. Longing flooded, years of quiet ache breaking free. I had built walls with chores and silence, but here, in the lantern's glow, they crumbled. Her eyes searched mine, vulnerable, the weight lifting slight. Desire mirrored back, hidden no more. She leaned in, forehead resting against mine. Breaths mingled, warm in the cool air. Felt this pull since you were grown. Waited too long. The world faded. Hayloft creaking above, distant owl call. Just her nearness, hands linked, pulses matching. Tension coiled, electric, promising more. But doubt flickered, family shadows lingering. Lena's ghost, the ranch's hold. Could we bend without breaking? Night deepened outside, stars pricking the black through the barn slats. Lantern flame danced low, shadows lengthening. Dawn approached, carrying a decision point. Embrace this truth or let the walls rebuild. Her grip tightened, anchoring me. The choice loomed, heavy as the coming light. We slipped from the barn into the pre-dawn chill, the lantern snuffed behind us. Stars still clung to the sky, faint against the deepening blue. Ruth's hand stayed in mine as we crossed the yard, gravel soft underfoot from the night's dew. The porch steps creaked, old wood settling like bones easing into rest. I sank onto the top step, pulling her down beside me. Mist rose from the fields, curling slow like fog over unresolved thoughts. Thick, clinging, hiding what lay beneath. The air smelled of damp earth and fading hay, the ranch waking in whispers. She leaned back against the post, knees drawn up, breath visible in the cold. Her fingers tightened in mine, rough palm grounding me. City was empty, Clara. Lights everywhere, but no warmth. Crowded streets, faces passing without seeing. I fixed roofs, laid pipe, but nights. Alone in that apartment, walls closing like a bad corral. Thought work would fill it, but isolation hit harder than drought here. Missed the land. Missed you. Her voice cracked on the last, low and raw, vulnerability stripping the steady she'd always worn. Barriers broke then, crumbling like dry bank after rain. She'd built her life on resilience, teaching me to bend, but the city bent her back, twisted the strength into something hollow. I saw it in her eyes, the weight she'd carried alone. Why not come back sooner? After Lena. She shook her head, gaze on the mist-shrouded fields. Guilt. Thought I'd ruined enough. Your family, the ranch. Leaving felt like the fix, but it carved me out. Isolation there, it had a sound, like wind through empty stalls. No one to share the load, just echoes of what I left. My choice loomed, sharp as a fence wire catching light. Embrace this history, the tangled roots of lessons, loss, and longing. Or cling to safe solitude. The ranch had been my anchor, chores a rhythm against the ache. Alone, no risks, no whispers from town. But her nearness pulled, stirring desires I'd buried under soil and sweat. History wasn't just past, it was us, woven into the land. Solitude had kept me whole but empty. Her hand in mine felt like roots finding water. Deep, necessary. I couldn't go back to the quiet without her echo. Tears pricked my eyes, hot against the chill. I chose the ranch after they died. Stuck here, holding it together. But it was half a life. Your shadow followed, Ruth. The way you saw me, taught me. Coming back, it scares me. Town talks, family ghosts. But without this, without you, it's just surviving. She turned, face close in the dim. Stars faded above, her eyes reflecting them, deep, unflinching. A tear traced her cheek, silver in the low light. She didn't wipe it. Instead, she pulled me in, arms wrapping slow, strong around my shoulders. I leaned into her, sobs breaking free, muffled against her shirt. Wood smoke and earth clung to her, familiar as home. Her hand stroked my back, steady circles like gentling a skittish horse. Tears wet my face, hers too, shared in the hush. Embraces tightened, bodies fitting like pieces of split rail, worn but matching. Vulnerability poured out, no walls left. Just us, under the last stars, holding the broken parts. Hope shifted then, tentative as first light. I see you, Clara. Always did. More than the girl I raised. The woman holding this place. If you'll have it, we'll face the rest together. No more hiding. I pulled back, hands framing her face, thumbs brushing damp tracks. I want that. Us. History and all. No more solitude. Mutual acknowledgement settled. Feelings laid bare like fields after plow. Tentative steps forward. Her lips brushing my forehead. Soft promise. The mist thinned, stars winking out. Sun crested the ridges, gold spilling over the land, warming the dew. New beginnings amid old earth, roots entwining deeper. Sun climbed higher, burning off the mist in lazy curls. We rose from the porch, hands parting slow, like roots reluctant to release soil. Ruth's eyes held mine a beat longer, promise etched in the lines around them. Breakfast waited, eggs cracked into the pan, sizzling sharp against the quiet. We moved together in the kitchen, her chopping wood for the stove, me tending the flame. No words needed. Rhythms synced natural, like horses falling into trot after years apart. Her shoulder brushed mine as she passed the kindling, warmth lingering. The ranch felt fuller, chores less like burdens. That day we tackled the east pasture. Fence posts leaned crooked from last winter's freeze, wire sagging loose. I hauled the new rails from the shed, sweat beading under my hat. Ruth drove the staples, hammer swinging sure, each strike echoing clean. Here, she said, wiping her brow, handing me the pliers. Our fingers tangled brief, calluses catching. We worked side by side, mending the breaks. She tightened a knot in the wire, muscles taut under rolled sleeves. I watched, hammer paused, the way her hands moved, steady, unyielding. Desire settled deeper, no longer hidden, but woven into the labor. Laughter slipped out when a post wobbled, her boot nudging it straight. Stubborn as the land, she muttered, grin flashing. The work flowed, bodies in step, sinking like breath after storm. Word spread through town by noon. Old man Hargrove rode by on his tractor, engine rumbling low. He tipped his hat, eyes flicking between us. Ruth back for good? Place looked sharper already. No edge in his voice, just the flat curiosity of ranch folk. Whispers had circled since her truck pulled in. Folks at the co-op piecing stories from her city return, Lena's passing. But as we stood there, tools in hand, facing him open, the murmurs faded. Hargrove nodded toward the mended fence. Solid work. If you need hands for branding, holler. He rumbled off, dust trailing. Ruth's hand found my lower back, light pressure. They see it, us holding steady. Afternoon brought more. The feed truck from town rolled up, driver leaning out. Heard Ruth's fixing things. About time. No stares, no side glances. Community shifted, accepting the quiet truth we'd built. Her presence mended more than wire, stitched the gaps left by years. We loaded sacks together, shoulders bumping, sweat mixing with earth. Faces in town, once tight with gossip, softened. Resilience showed. Love defying the constraints of dirt roads and Sunday sermons. Rural life bent, not broke, around us. As shadows lengthened, we climbed to the hayloft. Bales stacked high, golden in the slanting light. Dust motes danced, air thick with dry grass scent. Ruth paused at the ladder top, turning to me. One more thing, final secret. Her voice dropped, hand pulling me close. Return wasn't just guilt. Planned it years back. Wired money quiet, bought back acres from the bank after Lena. To rebuild what was lost. For you. For us, if you'd have it. Shock rippled, then warmth flooded. Acres reclaimed, future pieced from fragments. You held on to this place. For me? She nodded, thumb tracing my jaw. Couldn't let it go. Like I couldn't let you go. Intimacy built, world narrowing to the loft's hush. Her lips met mine, quiet, sure. Soft at first, then deepening, hands framing my face. Hay scratched my back as we leaned into bales, breaths quickening. Her touch roamed gentle, fingers in my hair, palm on my waist. Taste of salt and earth, desire uncoiling slow. The kiss affirmed it all, sealing the truths we'd unearthed. No rush, just us. Bodies fitting like lock and key. Evening cooled the air as we descended. Future glimpsed in small strokes, her helping with calving next spring, rides at dawn sharing the load. Ranch as shared sanctuary, walls rebuilt stronger, twined. Love's resilience defied the town's edges. Whispers turned to nods, constraints yielding to what grew natural. We stood in the yard, tools set aside, watching the sun dip. Emotional payoff settled deep, bending together, unbreakable. Hands intertwined at sunset, silhouetted against the field's gold. Truth set us free, roots entwining to build anew amid the land we'd claimed. If you've carried hidden truths like these, share your stories below. Subscribe for more tales of connection that bend but never break.